Welcome back to another episode of the Brew and Ink podcast. Welcome everyone back to another Brew and Ink podcast. This is season 5, episode 4 of the Singularity season.
Yep.
And so far I'm loving it. I'm loving that we get to both write.
Yes.
During these episodes, because one of us gets to really thrust the storyline forward and the other one gets to really play with, oh, how could this just end right now? Or, how could this turn off into some other divergent direction?
Yeah.
And we had a really interesting turn of events this week where we gave the audience 2 options and they voted on a third option instead.
No, there was some subterfuge that went on.
Yes, there was. And you know what? We took a look at that and said, okay.
Yeah, right.
Let's do it.
I don't know if we'll allow that every time.
Right. But we made it work this time.
We made it work. This time we made it work. And it was fun. It was funny.
So for those of you that added in your own, voted in on that additional, we gave you what you wanted. The divergent path was written on that one because it wasn't the winning choice, but it had more votes than the other choice that was a valid option.
I don't know if we would have allowed it to win. We might have had to have some super delegates, kind of like the Democratic convention where we had okay, no, but this vote counts 50.
Instagram is pretty much a superdelegate because the last 2 times it has been 100% on one choice.
Even though several people vote?
Even though several people vote.
Okay.
It'll say 30 people have seen it, and it has been pretty just down on one side. Yeah. That's why I was like, did you vote on it?
I don't think I voted on Facebook, but I did vote on Instagram.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I try to only vote once. I try not to skew it too much,
Well, I noticed with the Instagram and with the Facebook polls, when I make the polls, so there's got to be the what do they call it, the cowbell or the ringer. They got to be the person that puts in that first vote, and then everyone will start voting. But if it's just left blank, sometimes it'll sit there for a few days without people voting on it.
That is a comment on human nature if I've ever heard one.
Right.
I have no opinion when there's no skin in the game.
Yeah.
But now someone else has an opinion.
Now I've got an opinion.
Now I have to have an opinion. That is the very definition of American politics, I'm pretty sure.
Right.
I didn't have an opinion before, but now that you said something.
Now that it's an issue, I take issue with it.
I didn't know I didn't like this. I didn't know. So it happens on both sides, by the way.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm not trying to offend everybody or anybody. I'm just saying that is. So what's our topic for tonight?
Tonight we're going to talk about writers group, but not just writers group how we've talked about them before, where we say, oh, these are the best things, you got to be in one. We're going to talk about pitfalls of writers group. How can you make sure that you're in a good writers group? What are things to look out for to make sure that the people in your group are actually helping you and the group itself is being beneficial to developing you as a writer?
Good. Now, are we going to be playing Atari Pitfall while we do this?
Yes, it's on in the background. Yeah.
Okay, it's on in the background.
Jumping the crocodiles.
You guys can't see it, but it's on in the background.
Yeah. So one of the first things I was, doing a little research on this and just seeing what other people had to say, and one of the things that I felt like resonated with me and with things that we've said before was, when you're in a writers group, you've got to have an agreement with the people in the group that you're going to be truthful and honest with one another. And that you're not just going to fluff everyone's story up and just say, oh, man, golf clap, what a great story. But you're actually going to delve into the meat of what is good, what is working, but what could be improved. If every time that you share, you're getting nothing but positive feedback without any constructive criticism, there's no room to fix things. There's no room to get better.
Right. And that's the whole point.
Yeah.
That's the whole point is I don't care how good of a writer you are, you can get better.
Yeah.
In fact, I think that's the problem with a lot of really established published authors is no one wants to tell them it sucks.
Right.
like they know, like the publisher, the editor, everybody knows, their agent, everybody knows if they just put their name on something and put it out there,
that it's gonna sell.
It's gonna sell. Yeah. They're gonna make $1 million off of that book or whatever. I don't know.
So they do less criticizing constructively. Yeah.
Shaping and molding and collaborative effort on the book to try to make it as good as it can be. And you can tell with some writers' later stuff. You know, some writers just start letting somebody else write it. You know, I mean, it gets to some point. So no, I like that. You can always get better, and I think that's in anything that you do, you should have that mentality. I can always get better.
And obviously, everyone's dynamic within the group. The people are going to be different. A lot of us writers are doing things by ourselves. We can be shut-ins. We can be introverted. And for those types of group, it's going to be helpful if you're having an open conversation about what the expectations are for each other. So if you're open dialogue saying, hey, we're going to say something that's going to be critical about your work because that's what we're wanting, then you're allowing everyone the freedom to do that. And also at the same time, you're allowing yourself to know that when it comes time for you to be in the hot seat, that you're going to receive that criticism.
That's right.
And you're going to be able to take it with the grain of salt or with, the happy heart, depending on which way you're going. If you're going, wow, that was a really good criticism, like, I'm so glad you gave that to me. Or you go, well, okay, maybe there's something there, I'll look at that. But the fact that you've kind of discussed it as a group beforehand will help make that process easier. And one of the ways that we do it, we like to use the sandwich technique, which is, you're going to tell them something good that you like about it, but then you're going to give them the meat of what can they fix? Or, maybe it's not even something they need to fix, but what is a better way to do their character development or whatever. And then on the backside, you're given more
positives, more constructive positives on the beginning and the back end.
Yeah.
And
the bread of the sandwich.
the bread of the sandwich, and then really giving people ways to make things better, and that's part of the agreement of being in a writers group, is that you're going to be vulnerable and open up your stuff, your writing, your babies, to other people's criticisms, and if you're in a group for a decent amount of time, like, everybody has their own things that they like to look at. Like, some people like the big picture, some people like the grammar and the comma splices, and some people, like, every writer kind of focuses on one or two things.
And if you can get one of each of those into your group, then you're doing great.
It's a great group.
Yeah, because I know for myself, I'm always like trying to find, okay, where are the grammatical structural things that I can. But me, I'm more of I just intuitively can feel out story, and so I usually more am like the big story kind of, is this working this way or is this working that way? But then when I see people over there with their red pens, like, marking these comma splices and, let's do this paragraph break here, I'm like, I should be thinking about that too.
Yeah.
Well, how about you, Britt? What did you think of?
I think it's all connected, but to me, the purpose of a writers group is what we've already said, is to improve our writing. And so because of that, you have to be intentional about people bringing things and dealing with people's writing.
Yeah.
Because you can become friends because you all have this camaraderie over writing, even if it's different genres, even if it's different whatever, different kinds of stories. Then you still have this camaraderie of the struggles about being a writer, and you like books, and you like TV shows, and you like movies, and so it's really easy to just start talking about writing rather than writing. And so part of it to me is being intentional about making sure that we're holding one another accountable to write on a regular basis, because you cannot get better as a writer just talking about writing.
Right.
Now you can have some of that information, but you have to put that information into practice.
Yeah.
And so for me, I know for our writers groups, that we've been in, you and I, there seems to be that sort of tendency to really get to know each other and like each other, because you're encouraging each other. You're like, hey man, I want this to be better. I want this part to be good.
You start baking for each other. People got brownies.
I'm making popcorn for people. People are bringing drinks and coffee and beer, and there's all kind of stuff.
Then happening. You find the whole first half of your time
it's just you're hanging
socializing.
out. Yeah. And so So I think there has to be some intentionality and diligence to really make it about writing, and really, and you will hang out and you will have times of just getting to know each other, and that's important.
Yeah.
But I think the purpose of a writing group is to make the writing key.
And something to that note that I've seen, we've tried two different ways of doing this. We've tried the one way of, hey, everybody brings something to share. And then we tried okay, this week it's going to be this person's time to share. And then anyone else is welcome to bring something. And I feel like when you do everyone brings something, that's almost better, because I would rather have people running out of time to share rather than being like, does anyone have anything this week? Okay, this person didn't show up. It was supposed to be their day to share.
And now there's nothing.
Now what do we have?
Because nobody felt accountability to have something.
And so it's almost better to be like oversaturated with things to share than, some people might work to be that structured if that fits their personality. But the other thing that we were talking about was, you don't want your writers group to just become a book club. Where you're just talking about all the greatest books you've read, and you can share commonalities and talking about authors and talking about books that are like mentor text or comps to what you're writing, but don't get lost in just talking about all the great things you've watched or read over the last week. Make sure that you're sharing your own individual works, personal works.
The reason why a lot of people aren't in a writers club is because it's difficult to get people together.
Yeah.
Like that's
step one. It's daunting and intimidating to share your work with others. You start reading that out loud and your heart starts racing. People go, why is it so hard to breathe right now? I've never had so much trouble breathing before.
Right. Yeah, and so there's a lot of obstacles to overcome to put a group together, find a time that works for at least most people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all those kind of details, and writers don't like details, and writers aren't always the most consistent of people showing up to things. I'm just saying, like, that creative mindset. And so, when you do get people together, it's just important to make, the writing really key. And I agree with you. I think if you're meeting like every week, like maybe you can kind of switch some things up, maybe give one or two people some accountability. But I really do think that we found keeping it to 4, maybe 5.
Yeah.
Like at 6, it gets really, there's a lot to read and a lot to go over.
Yeah.
And it starts to get late and people start to get tired and they don't want to stay out that late. So, so there's some of that too.
Finding that balance
of having at least number. 2 or 3, but then you start getting into 4 or 5.
If you're all writing flash fiction, there you go. Yeah, you can share your work together.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you've got people like me and Britt that show up with like 8 to 10 pages of stuff to read, but yeah, you got to find the balance. And speaking of balance, one of the other things to be aware of within your writers group is the fact that you guys are all developing writers together, and struggling writers aren't the best people for struggling writers. So it's good to have outside sources to which you guys are referencing or talking to, whether it's someone that has an agent and is in the professional realm that can give good, clear, concise direction, or talking to other published authors, people that are doing it, someone that's further along the path than where you guys are within the group, so that you're not just kind of rehashing each other's mistakes or just going through the cycle of maybe doing something that actually isn't going to elevate your writing together.
Yeah.
But finding those resources outside, even if it's just research, being aware of where your limitations are, and kind of, who are your beginners, how can you help pull them up, but then who's pulling you up at the same time.
So just a couple things as we kind of wrap up this topic. Some of you might be thinking, how do I even start a writer?
Yeah, that's good.
Like, where do I even start? So I would go on Facebook and look for genre-specific groups of writers. They have everything on Facebook.
Yeah.
Look at Meetup. Go to a writing conference near you in your city if you can.
Yeah, if you spend a whole Saturday together with a bunch of writers, you're gonna find someone in your area that wants to meet up.
And so those are just ways to start connecting with people, and you just start putting it out there.
Yeah.
Like if you get on Facebook and you become a part of a fantasy writers group, or whatever, and they exist, or sci-fi writers, or romance writers, or whatever it is, just put it out there. Say, hey, I live in Atlanta, or I live in Wilmington, North Carolina, or something. Right. Is there anyone in the area that would be willing to just kind of meet with me? And so that's where I would start, and just put it out there. And there's some other resources we can give people too at some point, but
and then find a location that works. If it's hosting yourself, at your own house, or I saw this great group of like older like people that were kind of like retirement age, but they were meeting up at a Panera, and they were having themselves a time, just reading each other's work and doing it. But they're at a public place in Panera. There's coffee houses. You can meet. Libraries, places like that. Yeah.
Breweries. Brew and Ink. Brewery,
yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that's it.
That's our topic for today. So go out and find you a good writers group.
Good.
Or take the one that you're in right now and make it a good writers group.
That's right. Make it better.
And speaking of making it better. Booyah. Britt Mooney had the next portion of this story, and he's just going to elevate it to the next level.
There we go.
And what was the name of this chapter?
I just called it The Colony.
The Colony, because the winning option, the winning choice, was to go and try and save the colony on Zuthras.
Here you go.
Let's get to the story. Thanks for listening to our podcast. If you are interested in learning more about writing and how to become a writer, check out our syndication page, seriouswriter.com. They have articles, resources, classes, videos, and a podcast, the Brew and Ink Podcast. Again, check out seriouswriter.com. Thanks for listening.
Singularity, Chapter 4, The Colony. We only had enough Tycho for 2 trips, to Nexus and back, or to the Colony and then Nexus. The second option would leave us stranded at the core. Surely the Federation had sent another Phoenix drone to finish the job on Zuthras. It would be pointless to go back. They were dead, right? On the HUD of the helmet, I toggled between 2 Kepler rings. Since our nav housed a major military outpost, we had 4 fold rings, large gateways that folded space but not time, a difficult achievement, but required a burst of power from the ship, hence the Tycho. 1 ring would take us out to the colony, another would take us to Nexus. 3 blips of fighters came on the HUD. Looking at their position, they were going to block our way to the Kepler ring to Zuthras. People who were already dead. Probably. Captain, we can't let those people infect the rest of the citizens, the Admiral had said. Slag me. I switched to manual. I pushed the throttle and shot us forward, spinning around toward the ring to the colony. We are going to Zuthras? Jin asked. What does it look like? I growled. 3 fighters came into view, called bulldogs. Smaller, faster ships, heavily armed. Our Phoenix ship was capable in battle, larger with better shields, but sacrificed speed and weapons for sensors and navigation. Only a few seconds before we engaged, I settled in the seat, and I took a deep breath. Jin said, "You need help?" I shook my head. You're programmed with textbook maneuvers, not with a creative response like those pilots. You mean something reckless and stupid, Jin said, like going back to the colony. Basically, yeah, I said. You started this whole thing, by the way. That's why we're in this slag pile. Stop complaining. Not complaining, she said, making an observation. Make sure the shields are at full, I said. In a dogfight with 3 bulldogs, we were bound to get hit. So you do need my help, she said. Shut up. The lead fighter fired pulse rounds at us. I rolled to the right to dodge, arming our pulse cannons with my right thumb. The drone cockpits back at the base were not designed to simulate moves in a fight. Here, my stomach rose. A second bulldog fired a missile in my path, forcing me to arc up. However, instead of putting distance between us, I spun toward the third fighter, lining it up in my sights and tagging it with the pulse cannons. The bulldog shook, and smoke came out of a big hole in the back engine. It fell back from the others. My straight line cost me. The two other fighters swooped behind us and they zapped me a couple times before I could dive again. Jin, damage. Can I talk now? What? You said to shut up. You know what I meant. Damage? Minimal. Shields held. With the two bulldogs behind me, I couldn't outrun them, but... Jin, where's that pirate ship? Still in the system? Making its way to a different Kepler ring, she said. Give me a heading, I said. The nav line showed on my heads up. We can make it. Maybe. With evasive maneuvers, the bulldogs gained a missile going past starboard and streams of pulse rounds trying to lead me. The large makeshift pirate ship grew bigger. Far slower than both the Phoenix and Bulldogs, we gained on the pirates, and when we reached it, I started to use the different extensions and wings as obstacles to lose the smaller ships. The Bulldog pilots were human too. How could I use that to my benefit? Pulse rounds hit a narrow tower and I flinched. Jin, you still have access to the subspace jamming tech in your programming? I do, she said. And I like the idea, but I have to be connected to the core to use it on the Bulldogs. I weaved through and came over the top of the ship. A blast of red lanced out from behind, barely missing me. What was that? I cried. Mining laser from the pirate ship, Jin said. Apparently they are not keen on us using their ship as a battleground. Mining lasers are designed to drill into asteroids and small planets. Of course, this day kept getting better. I spotted a large antenna to my left. Jin, can you hack into their subspace systems? Like my kitchen? Interesting, Jin said. Yes, I am in their system. Dang, that was fast. Can you interrupt the connection between the Bulldogs and the drone pilots? I must say, this is a creative solution, she said. Another red beam of energy barely missed our left wing, and I swerved toward the front of the pirate ship, a stream of pulse rounds flashing overhead. Just answer the slagging question. Yes, she said. The next moment, both Bulldog ships began to shake and weave. One hit a protrusion and tumbled out away. The other launched in a different direction. A red laser cut the first in half. I performed an upward loop and rolled with the second in my sights. A steady burst of pulse rounds destroyed it. Now we ran, away from the pirate ship in a heading designed to get us out of range of those mining lasers. One blast skimmed our shields. Sensor array 4 shorted out, Jin said. Can you fix it? Not quickly, she answered. How far to get beyond their range, I said. The design is for a significant distance, Jin said. Mining from orbit, maximum 5,000 kilometers. Great. We were a few thousand kilometers from the Kepler ring. This is going to be close. Fortunately, the ring was large enough for the Fed's biggest freighters, so I could dodge the lasers. I tried not to think about how one blast cut a whole fighter in two. I wasn't successful. I wove our flight path high to the port. Those mining beams were powerful, but not meant for small ships, and another flashed underneath us. A thought tickled my brain. Jin, what would happen if one of those lasers hit the Kepler ring? Kepler rings are constructed to withstand impacts and weapons fire. However, she continued, the power matrix is volatile and could explode if the shields were overloaded. That's a lot of ifs, I said. What about those lasers? A direct impact at close range for 23.2 seconds would overload the shields and armor, and the resulting explosion would rip our nav to asteroids and throw the whole system into chaos. The AI hesitated. And that's just in this system. It has never happened, so the resulting damage to space-time and other dimensions are only theories, but they're not good. Great, I said. The pirates would be destroyed also, she added. I assume they know enough of the science to be careful. I scoffed. We can hope. I angled more between the ship and the ring. As if they heard us, the blast of the mining laser stopped. The Kepler fold ring was exactly what it sounded like, an enormous gray metal band 3 kilometers in diameter. We approached it from the side, but I angled us to the center. Have you uploaded the Tycho, I said. Yes, Captain. Activate the fold navigation for Zuthras, I said. Kepler rings could be linked with others in the galaxy, although only one at a time. Most systems only had one for this reason. Only those planets or systems with heavy traffic had more than 2. Systems with military bases possessed several. Jin's program connected and navigated the spatial fold between our nav and the system close to the colony. It was such a complicated process, only a computer on a quantum drive could complete it. This was the reason AIs were added to ships in the first place a century or more ago. The first programs took 16 standard hours to complete the calculations. Now, the most recent AI like Jin could do it in a matter of seconds. Activating, Jin said. The gray ring began to glow, power racing through the structure. The glow was for human benefit. The fold field within the ring was invisible to human eyes, only detectable to the ship's sensors. I had traveled through a Kepler ring a handful of times, traveling from one system to another. Slowing and approaching the invisible field made me nervous, as it should. Any malfunction or accidents with the rings were rare, but nobody ever saw the ships or people involved with one. Old movies and hollows made long-distance space travel full of colors and people stretching and stars doing strange things. But in reality, once we hit the field, it was like everything went black for a second. No thought or heartbeat or awareness of anything. Then we emerged on the other side with a new view of stars and the Zuthras system to our starboard side. We had gone 223 light years in that moment. Sensors online, I asked. All but Array 4, yes, Jin said. I brought up the schematics. Can we reboot en route? We can, but not sure it'll work. Try it, I said. We need that array for finding the colonists. Navigate fastest course to the planet. The schematics of the array flashed, and then the HUD changed to the red line from our position to the planet of Zuthras. I hit the boosters to bring us to full speed. Tycho matter fuel cell ejected, Jin reported, right after I felt the whomp underneath my seat. We came around a large gas planet with blue and pink swirls. On the solar side of the planet, Zuthras waited for us. It appeared larger in my visor. How's that array doing? I asked. Finished rebooting, still not working. I sighed and flew us toward the center of the largest continent where the colony was. Enhance and enlarge, I said. The view zoomed in and showed me the colony, or more correctly, what remained of the colony. Slag me, I whispered. Every building destroyed and in flames. Smoke billowed from several places. There were little dark figures that dotted the landscape. Bodies. Nothing moved but fire and smoke. They did it, I said. In the time we took to get the cells, they sent someone else. Not a Phoenix ship, though, Jin said. She was right. This hadn't been done by a terraform bomb. The whole colony would have been flattened, but not on fire. All organic life would have been cremated and repurposed for organic design. No bloody and burning bodies. This was done by bulldogs. I took my hands from the controls, balled them into fists. Are there any Fed ships in system? I said through clenched teeth. No. It took me a few seconds to speak while the view got bigger, more detailed. There could be survivors, I said. I cannot tell you without Array 4, she said. I cursed under my breath. Captain, Jin ventured. The destroyed colony consumed my attention. What? The pirates. What about them? In her hesitation, I imagined she cleared her throat. They are here. Show me and magnify. The view on my sensor swiveled, a dizzying sight, and zoomed in on the far Kepler ring. The massive ship had just come through the ring, moving with slow, methodical purpose toward our position. Yep, this day just kept getting better.
All right. Nicely done.
Thank you.
So, that was a no and.
Right.
They got there. No, they were not. The colony was not still alive. And the pirates followed them through.
It's the rule of escalation.
Exactly. And speaking of escalating, which way are we giving our listeners a chance to escalate the story?
So there's two choices that we're going to give people.
Got it.
One is that maybe they try and hide in the wreckage of the colony.
Okay.
So, before we kind of talked about some of Jin's ability to do stealth and some of that stuff.
Right.
So one option could be that they try to hide from the pirates in the colony somewhere.
Right. There's smoke and dead bodies and fire, all that going on down on Zuthris.
Or, choice 2, they could try to fight their way past the pirates and just go ahead and go back through the Kepler ring and try to go to Nexus or wherever.
Yeah. They've got one more round of Tycho.
That's right. And they kind of got past the pirate ship before, so maybe they think they can get by the pirate ship again and just make it out of the system.
Yeah. So then they would be heading. Well, I guess that's kind of up to us.
That would be up to you.
Yeah, me.
Particularly.
So either hide or evade.
Hide or try to escape.
Yeah, try to escape. Yeah.
Right? Either you hide until maybe they pass by or whatever happens with the pirates.
And what I like about the options with hiding amongst the wreckage is we can maybe discover some more stuff about this colony.
Right.
If people are interested in hearing more about that, we can get some details there.
Or maybe there are survivors.
Maybe there are survivors, right.
Maybe there are survivors. I mean, that could take the
be a
story in a whole different direction. Or
Yep.
at least add another layer. We haven't really had a lot of characters so far. We've done 4 episodes, and which is kind of good. We've kept it pretty contained between
Jin
and the
Captain Bruce,
right?
yeah.
So this could kind of further the story that way.
Yeah.
Give them a little more information on what the Fed's really up to, maybe from the colonist point of view.
And a key word in one of those options is try to escape
the pirates and try to hide.
And yes, because there are some things that we've talked about also in regards to the pirates that might show up, along the way.
That's right.
I definitely had some thoughts already in mind for either of those options.
The audience can't see, but Steven's brain is already working. There's smoke coming out of his ears. He's already thinking about the next episode. So that's it. Those are the 2 choices.
Yes, and as always, you're going to go and find these choices to vote on Facebook. We have a Facebook group for our Brew and Ink group, but then within that page, there's a group that's a voters group, and we'll have the poll on both of those sites. So, you're welcome to join and like both of those groups. And then on Instagram, I will put on a story, Instagram story, which will last for 24 hours.
So definitely listen and vote.
Yes, listen and vote. And then very, very soon, we will have for you, I've got the Patreon page pretty much set and ready to go. I think we just maybe want to do a couple intro videos or whatever to make for it.
Yeah.
But
because people really want to see my face.
Exactly. Yes. but essentially what's going to happen is about halfway through this story, we're going to make available some of these other side stories, these divergent paths to people that would like to be a part of our Patreon.
Yeah.
So be looking forward to that.
And we could even do something crazy.
Yeah, we could.
Like people could vote on the top of the divergent stories, and we could just write a whole version from there or something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, some of these...
we could do a lot of extra stuff on that.
Some of these that we've been reading these to each other, and some of these end in a cliffhanger, but some of these end in a way that we can continue that story going.
Yeah.
I really liked yours from last week.
Yeah, I had fun with that
one. Those ideas are definitely going to make their way into the main story further down the line, but even from there, we could take it so many different directions.
We can.
Yeah. So, anyways, thank you guys, as always, faithful listeners, for checking in with us and getting out there and being interactive with our stories. And as always, raise a glass to inspiration and stay inspired, guys. Or a mug, yeah. Stay inspired, guys. One of us gets to really thrust and the other one gets to really play. Then you're going to give them the meat. But, they're at a public place doing it.
And that's part of the agreement of being in a writer's group, is that you're going to be vulnerable and open up.
It's daunting and intimidating to share.
I didn't know I'd like this. I didn't know. That is a comment on human nature,
right.
if I've ever heard one.